James Gunn once again delivers.
Each member is chosen for his or her own completely unique set of abilities.
I need to feel the raindrops on my head, on my head.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Had to go number 2.
Good to know.
Okay, the Suicide Squad, not to be confused with the 2016 movie Suicide Squad, is the latest James Gunn movie and the newest superhero movie out this year. While I think there's still 4 more superhero movies to come out the rest of the year. And I'm happy to say I really enjoyed this movie. This movie sees a return with some familiar faces from the 2016 version of Suicide Squad, but then at the same time, a bunch of new faces. And I have to say, the standout for me when it comes to this movie is definitely John Cena as Peacemaker, and I did not expect that going into this movie. I was expecting either to really like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, or to really like Idris Elba's character, and the fact that John Cena, because I'm not a John Cena hater or anything, but in all the movies I've seen him in, he's just kind of been whatever, or he's just always kind of like this character I don't really care about, and I don't really ever find him to be much of a leading person. But in this movie, it totally changed my mind about John Cena, because he's going to get his own Peacemaker show, and I used to think to myself, I mean, how's John Cena going to have his own show? I mean, how is he going to carry that? But after watching this movie, I have to say John Cena did absolutely amazing in the Peacemaker role. And I really liked King Shark as well. Seeing the trailer, you're seeing the shark and everything. You're like, how are they going to pull this off? And then the kaiju that you see in the trailer, the big old starfish. I mean, you have to... This movie was absolutely bonkers in the trailer. And to be honest, they did an absolutely fantastic job delivering it. It could have been very, very easy for this movie to go off the rails, to be rather cringy on one end, or to go so far to the fact that you're just like, all right, I can't even take this stuff anymore. But it plays on a very fine line in between fantasy and sort of real world, but it plays in that fine line, so you can definitely, it's grounded in such a way, but at the same time, it has this fantasy aspect that allows the movie to go off the rails while you still believing everything that happens. So the fact that James Gunn was really able to capture that, which shouldn't be a surprise because he's been able to capture that with both of his Guardians movies as well, I think that is a very good thing about this movie. This movie also has a lot of violence. It's got a hard R, and boy, does it take advantage of that hard R, whether it's some nudity in certain aspects or a bunch of blood, a bunch of violence, all that stuff. If you're a fan of blood, you like blood and guts, you like violence, you like people getting stabbed with swords, you like people getting shot in the face, you like all that stuff. If you want to see polka dots fly around in the air, like literal polka dots flying around and chopping people up and killing people, this movie, it delivers that. And that's what I was kind of talking about before when it comes to the whole fine line between realism and fantasy. The fact that you can have somebody like a Polka Dot Man in this movie, who, yes, that's his actual name, Polka Dot Man, who goes around, shoots polka dots at people, and you're not going to sit there at all and roll your eyes. You're totally sitting there. You're either laughing with it, or you're just having a grand old time with it. And I think that's the best part about this movie, is the fact that it's able to be so over the top while also having sort of like a realism element to it. And I was not even that big of a hater of the 2016 film that David Ayer made. I wasn't a big fan of the way they portrayed the Joker or anything in that movie. But for the most part, I thought the movie was okay. But this movie really is miles ahead better. I will say this, because this movie's getting a lot of hype right now, right? Some people are saying top 3, top 5 comic book movie of all time. That's what some people are saying. Now, obviously, opinions are opinions. It's all subjective. I think if you go into this movie with the whole thought that this is going to be a top 5 or a top 3 comic book movie of all time, you may be setting yourself up for disappointment. Because don't get me wrong, this movie is very fun. It's nice and everything, right? But it's nowhere near a top 5 to top 3 comic book movie of all time. If you were to ask me top 10, yeah, I may put it in the top 10, but don't overhype yourself, because I see a lot of people saying that, and I think a lot of people are just, they're happy to see a new James Gunn movie, they're happy to see a new superhero movie that does something different, so they're automatically putting it in that top 5 or top 3 place. I'm saying, lower your expectations a little bit. Don't expect a Logan film, don't be expecting something like The Dark Knight, don't be expecting some Infinity War movie or anything like that. The Suicide Squad, a really good movie. Top 3, top 5 comic book movie. Lower your expectations a little bit. You'll have a great time. Now, would I recommend this movie? Hell yes, I would recommend this movie. And if you feel safe enough right now to go to a movie theater, I definitely recommend seeing it on the big screen. You'll still have fun watching on HBO Max, especially if you have like a 4K TV, if you have any Dolby Atmos or any Dolby Vision. It'll look good on your 4K TV. But this is definitely a movie I think really needs to be experienced in an audience setting. I'm kind of disappointed that my first time watching it wasn't with an audience setting, but I'll definitely be going and seeing it tomorrow. I'll be able to see kind of how everybody else around me feels about the movie, but this is definitely a movie worth seeing in theaters. And if you're a James Gunn fan, if you're a superhero fan, I'm telling you, watch this movie. You do not want to miss out.